Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds for Plymouth County. We do this show on a monthly basis to talk about real estate activity within Plymouth County over the previous month. In this show, we're talking about the April recording figures. And April was a pretty good month in Plymouth County for real estate. It followed a pretty good first quarter in calendar year 2012. So in April, we recorded 608 deeds compared to 612 deeds in March. A recording of deeds, which is the sale of property, is up 10% from this period in 2011. Our average sale price was $303,060, which was up 10% from the $275,000 average in March, and up 5% from a year ago. We also recorded a significant number of mortgages in April, 2,254 mortgages compared to the 2,228 mortgages in March, and we're up 62% actually in terms of mortgages over April of 2011. Interest rates are incredibly low. If you haven't taken advantage of it, please call your lender or go talk to someone about reducing your monthly payment. Even those properties that are underwater, meaning their property values are lower than their mortgage amount, should be eligible in certain packages to refinance. We continue to follow foreclosures in orders of notice at the registry. Foreclosures are very difficult to predict. We put on this screen a showing of the number of foreclosure deeds and foreclosure notices by communities, and you can track that as we go through this by town, all the way alphabetically from Abington to Whitman. We had 82 foreclosure deeds recorded in the month of April. Again, foreclosure deeds are when property is taken back by the lender, compared to 107 foreclosure deeds in March. So it's up 11% from the amount in April of last year, and up 31% year-to-date this year. You might remember that in 2011, overall foreclosure deeds were down about 30%, so they are trending upward. We had 122 foreclosure notices recorded, which again is the first step we see in the foreclosure process. We'll continue to track foreclosure deeds and notices as they significantly affect Plymouth County communities. We follow numerous stories about real estate in Plymouth County. There's a deadline for anyone looking to review a foreclosure proceeding. If you go onto the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, you can log on to that site and get included in that review. We have filed a lawsuit in Plymouth County against MERS for some of the things that they've done in mixing up the recording process, particularly not filing assignments. And I think that's something that we'll be going on forward with. There are numerous stories about consumer confidence growing in our marketplace. And in fact, we have two really good guests on for our second segment, both Chris Head, who works for William Rayvase Real Estate and is president of the Plymouth and South Shore Realtors, Association of Realtors, and Lenny Harris, who is the president-elect of the past Plymouth area South Shore Realtors, are my guests on the second segment of this show, which will soon be coming up. Thank you for watching the Register's Report. Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds for Plymouth County, and we have a couple really good guests on this segment. We have talked in the past about surveyors and appraisers and a whole range of people involved in the real estate community. My guests on this show are representatives of the Plymouth and South Shore Association of Realtors. It is Christopher Head, the president of the Plymouth and South Shore Realtors Association. Welcome. Thank you, John. Chris. And Lenny Harris, the president-elect of the Plymouth and South Shore Realtors. Thank you, Lenny.
Thanks for having me on.
And both of them are involved in the real estate community. Chris is part of William Rayvase Real Estate, and Lenny is part of Jack Conway Real Estate. And we just did a program recently with the registry in connection with PASS, navigating the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds. We're very thankful that we had the opportunity to share that with your members. And Susan Marks, the program director, Mary Ellen Wilson, the chair of the Education Committee, and Jean Sawtelle, your communications director, were very helpful in getting that together. And I think everyone respects the role that PASS plays in the real estate community. You are our largest real estate agent association in Plymouth County, and we'd just like to have a conversation about PASS.
Great.
So first of all, you want to give our viewers a little bit of your background, Chris, before we get into that?
I've been in real estate since 2005, and I'm currently, as you said, with William Ravis Real Estate. As president of our association, it's a voluntary organization, and we have a lot of volunteers, and depending on how much time you want to commit to the association, you can get a lot back out of it. So that's how I ended up in my position, and the same with Lenny. It's very rewarding. It's good to get outside your local area or the group of people that you're normally with your office or wherever, because there's a lot to take in. It's not like when people were lined up at the doors placing offers and you wrote up offers and hoped it got accepted. There's a lot more work to it, and that's why your program was really beneficial.
Great, thank you. And Lenny, a little of your background?
Yes, I started in the real estate business in 1982. Took some time off, chasing my children around the country while they played basketball. Came back into real estate. At that time in 2002, became a member of the Plymouth South Shore Board of Realtors. I worked for Jack Conway and Company out of our Mansfield office. Been very involved both on the local with PASS and the state with the MAR Association, and also at the national level. Been president of the Massachusetts chapter of Certified Residential Specialists for the last 2 years. So I try to stay involved as much as possible in the realtor community. I think it's a way to give back to organizations that advocate for home ownership for everybody. I think it's a great organization.
I think anyone that's been involved in business or law, as I was, or anything like that, realized the importance of your associations, whether it be the Chambers of Commerce, the Mass Bar, Plymouth County Bar, those types of things, and all of the realtor organizations. And you do a lot with education. And I know we were able to get a couple credits out of the show we did last week.
Yes.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about PASS. But first of all, the difference between an agent and a realtor. You want to start with that, Chris?
Sure. Well, it's kind of the Kleenex scenario versus a tissue. To the public, I think everybody figures if you have your license, you're a realtor. Realtors actually make a commitment by joining the National Association of Realtors, the state association, and their local association, rather than just practicing as a licensee. So we practice at a higher level. We're held to a code of ethics that we all ascribe to. And there's a good educational component to it. I mean, yes, there are minimums for CE requirements, but we give our members an opportunity to get plenty of free CEs, and we try and keep the curriculum current for today's trends.
Any thoughts on that issue, Lenny?
Yes, it's something that the general consumer public just doesn't understand. There was recently, this week, as a matter of fact, down in Charlestown, South Carolina, a conference on, it was called Hear It Direct, where realtors sat in a room with consumers, and the consumers were on the panels, and they asked questions, just like you just did. What's the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent? Do you know the difference? The entire panel, nobody knew the difference. He furthered it and said, the designations that realtors earn, the initials after their names, which is just further education that we go through. And none of them understood that. And consumer public, I mean, this is the most important investment you make in your life. You should hire somebody that is a realtor, that maybe has a designation or two after their name, because it's so important that you get somebody that has the experience to bring that process of selling your home from the beginning all the way through to a closing. So.
Yeah, that point you made, I mean, clearly for most people, their home is their most valuable asset they'll ever have in their life.
Absolutely.
And it's so important that they do it right when they do a purchase, and they understand what they're buying, and they understand all of the ramifications of everything involved.
It's true. I mean, there are, It's so easy in the state to get a real estate license.
Right.
And so many people are realtors and real estate agents. See, I just did it. And you just need to make sure that there's somebody there that treats it as a profession and not as a hobby.
So let's talk about what is the Plymouth and South Shore Association of Realtors. You're president-elect, you're coming in after Chris. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the organization?
Well, PASS, as it is known, is the second largest of all the associations in Massachusetts. There are 16 associations here in Massachusetts that fall under the Mass Association of Realtors. And it's funny, in my situation, the town that I live in, Norwood, and the town that I work in, Mansfield, do not geographically fall within the Plymouth and South Shore Board of Realtors. But we made a decision, my wife and I, who I work with, when we came back into the business in 2002, we just felt that Plymouth and South Shore Association had more to offer. You had touched on it earlier. There's an education component that goes with it. There's an advocacy component that goes with it. And we just felt that Plymouth and South Shore did it better than anybody else. So that's why we're here at Plymouth South Shore.
And Chris, you're the current president. How many members do you have?
We have a little over 2,000. So, as you said, I think you said it's our second largest association in the state. And those numbers obviously help us offer programs that some of the smaller associations aren't able to do if you get out into Berkshire County and things like that. So there is a strength in numbers. And we have a very diverse geographic area because we go from the Ponset River Bridge all the way down to the Cape Cod Canal. So all the communities that fall along that Route 3 corridor, it makes it very interesting when we're talking about the different communities, whether it be Cohasset or Carver, whole different dynamic in what's going on in the real estate world.
So as president of an organization that large and trying to do your own private business on the side is a pretty busy lifestyle you have.
It keeps it, it's challenging, but we have great support staff at the association that makes us look good.
I can vouch for that. They helped us out a lot putting that program
They
together.
really are. They are amazing. They just do a great job for us and keep us focused on what we need to do because it is difficult. You know, we have our jobs where we need to earn the income. We also have our family time that we need to spend, but there is a considerable amount of time that if you make the commitment to serve your organization that you have to spend. So
I think we all recognize that it's important for everyone to work together to provide, good advice to customers, and we try to work in collaboration with PASS and other agencies like yours. Tell me why you think that's important, Chris.
Well, a perfect example is the program that you put on for us, researching the registry. In the past, it was pretty straightforward to list and buy properties and help your clients do that. Now, you need to have the skills to dig into the registry database to find out exactly what might be in the history. And granted, we're not at the level of doing title research, but we certainly need to know about the property where we might not be getting all the facts, and being able to drill down into property history is important, especially important these days.
Yeah, Lenny, you and I talked about it earlier. It's much easier to get access than it was back before the internet, back before we had websites that provided that information.
Exactly, and I think that it's very important that everybody kind of cooperate. What makes real estate a fascinating profession to be involved in is there are so many different components of it. Okay, now granted, I don't have to know about everything, but it's nice to have a working knowledge of why there's such a thing as title insurance and what happens at the Registry of Deeds and how far back it goes. If there's something that has to go to a land court, what does that mean? All of these different aspects of the business, it's great to be able to try to explain that to your buyer or seller to help them understand the process as well.
Yeah, and we love to host guests like PASS. We've done a PASS day at the registry, and we look forward to keeping that relationship going. So, Chris, why don't you tell us why the Realtor Association is important to agents and then also to the public?
Well, if I start with agents, there are certainly plenty of our members who aren't that actively involved, and they write their check to be a member of the organization. some of the side things that, yes, they can get their free CEs and they can come to member programs and things of that nature that they wouldn't have access to if they weren't Realtor members. But they get a real benefit, whether they're involved from an advocacy perspective or not, of what we do to protect home ownership. And that's, to me, I mean, I can get my CEs and I can do all kinds of other things if I wasn't a Realtor member, just like any other licensee. But the advocacy, I mean, we are in the business of helping people buy and sell property, and part of that is it's important that we look out and protect homeowners and property owners' rights.
Exactly. That's one of the biggest things that I don't think the general public understands. And first of all, just to pick up on what Chris said, CEs, by the way, are continuing
Yes, I'm
education
sorry.
credits.
Yeah.
We tend to talk in our business in
lingo,
acronyms,
yes,
okay?
yes.
But they're continuing education credits. We fall under the Massachusetts Licensing Bureau, and we are required to have a certain number of continuing education credits every year. But the advocacy is the big thing. Most homeowners and friends of mine don't understand that mortgage interest deduction rights right now are under fire. That every year there's a property transfer tax which goes after the pocketbooks of homeowners, which it shouldn't, because homeownership is probably the most vital part of our society today. And what it creates and what it affects, it's just too important. Recently, we were able to help reach our legislators and make them understand that they were going to do an energy audit of all homes. All of a sudden, that really affected people that owned older homes. And they were going to have trouble selling their home. It was going to be another added cost when they sold their home. All of these things, without our political involvement, okay, without us going to Washington, D.C., without us going to Beacon Hill, the legislators don't hear that, and these things could actually get passed and adversely affect home ownership here.
So let's talk a little bit about what PASS has coming up that people should be aware of. And I know there's going to be a Beacon Hill Day coming up soon.
Yes.
Want to talk about that, Chris, a little bit?
Yeah, we actually, that's our biggest event to go out and just before the legislature wraps up for the year to just remind them of some of the issues that we need to talk about. We've been working on this copper theft issue for a number of years and trying to get the scrap metal industry registry up and running, but we really need that legislation to get passed. So that's one of the things we're talking about. As Lenny mentioned, the home energy scoring issue is off the table for now, and it's not that we're opposed to environmental issues and conservation, and we understand that that's all important, but if it penalizes homeowners especially where we have a lot of older home stock here. So all the realtors, and they won't, but it would be great if they all headed up to Beacon Hill. We provide buses, and they get to meet one-on-one with their legislators. Lenny and I head to Washington next week. A number of other realtors from the area will be going as well. There's a big rally planned on the Washington Mall around the Washington Monument, again talking about home ownership rights and preserving the mortgage interest deduction. Just we need the legislators to hear that we need them to understand that government needs to be homeowners' friends, not there's a lot of feeling that home ownership is under attack out there.
I think we all agree there's been an assault on home ownership and a discouragement of
Yes.
home ownership because of the crisis we went through. And
Yeah.
I have to congratulate your organization and Mass Association of Realtors, everyone that's been really promoting how important it is for the stability of communities to have home ownership as a primary activity in everyone's mind.
I agree, and I think PASS takes it one step further. Chris had mentioned, we provide buses free of
Right,
charge
that's
for
great.
all of our members to go in there. We will, year after year, have more Plymouth South Shore members than any of the other associations there. We are the only association that will sit down in a private room with all of our legislators who choose to be there, and we have a chance to talk to them about what we feel is important for homeowners in our district. And then it's the same thing that when we go to Washington, D.C. I mean, we sat down last year in a room with Scott Brown, Scott came right out and told us, everything's on the table.
Yeah.
Mortgage interest deduction,
Right.
it's on the table.
Right.
We stressed to him how important we felt it was,
Right,
for the fiber of the whole community.
right.
And so hopefully they listen to us, and I think they do.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he obviously has been at the forefront of this new short sale legislation, trying to get the process sped up, so.
Right.
um,
No, I think there's certainly a lot of things in the works, and I think that would be a horrible thing to take away. What some people, is their only benefit they get when they file their tax returns is the
Sure.
interest deduction.
Yeah.
yep. I mean, and the taxes from home ownership, that's what pays for the schools, that's what pays for the police department, the fire department, all the infrastructure of a community.
Right.
You start taking that away, you're gonna affect an awful lot of things, and they need to be reminded of that. And we need the homeowners to understand that those things are out there and have their voice be heard as well.
Well, I think you've both made a great case on behalf of PASS and how important it is. So let's get into a little general conversation as we
Sure.
kind of wrap this up I'd love to hear both of your perspectives on your view of the real estate market, the South Shore and Plymouth County in particular, and see, from your view of things, where you think we're headed. Want to start, Lenny?
Sure. Like I say, I've been in this for a long time, so I've seen a lot of markets. I've seen the ebb and flow, the ups and downs. Right now, we've just gone through probably the 5-6 worst years that we've ever had in real estate. Historically, in the Northeast, you took any 10-year period in the history of the Northeast, real estate values had doubled. That's not going to happen with this particular period that we've been in. But right now, I see that the economy is coming back. This is probably the busiest that we have personally ever been. What happens is it usually comes out from Boston. Where I am in the Norwood-Mansfield area, we've been going through this now since November. We're not seeing an increase in the pricing yet. We're seeing still a bottoming out, which is welcome news to everybody. But we are seeing an increase in the number of units being sold. And that's real positive. There was some worry, some thought that maybe because it was such a mild winter without snow that we were seeing more activity than normal. But no, I think this has some sustainability to it, and hopefully we're on a road to recovery.
And Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, the same thing. Pendings are up. I mean, that gives us kind of a forward-looking indication of where the market is headed. And they're running around 30, it depends on the community, but the area that we monitor, they're running about 30% over this time last year. Even for the first quarter, we were up 30%. So that's a really positive sign. Prices, as Lenny said, though, they're flattening out. There's some increases and there's still some decreases, depends on the community. But obviously, as the volume comes, then the prices will start to turn around. And the forecast, I mean, for anybody who's thinking of sitting on waiting to sell their house, the forecasts aren't for major increases. If the time is right to sell your house, the time is right to sell your home. It's just.
And that's a tough thing. I started in 1982, and interest rates were 18%.
Right.
And right now, at 4%, it's just, I mean, they're almost giving
It's
the money
amazing.
away. And
Yeah.
it makes it so much more affordable. The affordability index is at the
Yeah.
highest level it's ever been since they've charted that. One of the most interesting things right now that I see is investors are starting to come back on the market. For 3-4 years, we didn't see any investors. Builders, we were at the lowest number of builder starts, new construction home starts, in the history of the United States, okay? We're not gonna see a dramatic rise, but we are seeing a rise in those numbers. I'm seeing a rise in the builders coming back out, sticking their nose out and saying, okay,
Right.
what's out there, what can I buy? Still looking for value,
Sure.
but now they're interested in being involved.
And I think our numbers over the last 4 months bear that out, and we
Yes.
just hope it continues.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up this segment of the show, why don't you give your contact information, Chris?
Well, I'm Chris Head. I'm with William Ravis Real Estate, and you can reach me at our Norwell office, 781-659-6650. And anybody who's looking to find a realtor in their area or looking for any help, they can visit our website, the Plymouth and South Shore Association of Realtors website. It's passrealtors.com.
Great. And Lenny?
And I'm Lenny Harris. I'm with Jack Conway Real Estate in Mansfield. My cell number, where you can reach me, would be 781-706-7491. And be happy to answer any question that you have and help you get in touch with a realtor that can best help you in whatever question you're looking for, or whatever area of southeastern Mass that you're in.
Well, I think these conversations are important for people to see what we think is going on in the real estate market. And we'll continue to work together and make it a brighter future for everybody. Thank
Sounds
you
good.
for being my guest.
John, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Chris. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds for Plymouth County. I want to thank Chris and Lenny who spoke about the Plymouth Area South Shore Realtors organization and the various roles and things that they do to help their realtors with education and just generally in the real estate process. We have a great relationship with them, and it's been a good thing for the registry in terms of our activity. In this segment, we do something a little lighter in nature. We talk about a Plymouth County Registry of Deeds notable land record collection. The town of Abington is celebrating its 300th anniversary this year. I will put up on the screen two notable records from Abington. The Dyer Memorial Library is a beautiful building in downtown Abington Center. It is the home of the old Abington Historical Society. Abington, Rockland, and Whitman were all one community, which is called Abington, was it called Abington at the time, and it has many historical records and is a great resource to Plymouth County. As we enter the Memorial Day holiday season in the month of May, I want to talk a little bit about some of our veterans and those who have passed away serving our country. Also in the town of Abington, in that it's its 300th anniversary. There's an Island Grove Park. In Island Grove Park, there's a memorial bridge dedicated to all veterans, including those that lost their lives serving our country, and a beautiful memorial arch. The Abington 300th Committee is renovating that arch as part of this year's celebration. Those two images you see are part of our notable land records collection, which you can access by going onto our website, www.plymouthdeeds.org. We also do a plaque or statute of the month. In this particular month, again celebrating Memorial Day, City of Brockton runs a parade every Memorial Day. It ends up at the top of Legion Parkway, and at the top of the hill I have a picture of me and George Cataldo, who is the master of ceremonies for that event every year and does a wonderful job at the end of both the Memorial Day parades as well as the Veteran Day Parade. I want to thank Brockton Community Access and the job that they do in helping us promote our land records and what we do in terms of real estate activity in Plymouth County. Brockton Community Access Television allows us to promote this program across Plymouth County. We're able to put it up on the Brockton station and across many cable access communities in Plymouth County. I want to thank Aaron Thibault for his help in doing this. I want to thank Newbie Rateau for his help today as cameraman, and Chuck Scott for helping us set up today. We value what we do for the people of Plymouth County. We appreciate being able to share our information as it comes about in real time and real numbers. And we want to thank you all for watching this show, and we'll see you next month.
There's a monster in my bathtub. There's one on the couch. There's a monster on my bed.
Keep innocent things from triggering an asthma attack.
Please make the monsters go away.
Learn how to stop their asthma attacks at noattacks.org.